This is Seymour Rocks reporting from Down Under. I found myself pretty much unable to comment on the Julian Assange thing, simply because it's so huge and the repercussions are so huge that I wouldn't even know really where to start. So I'm really going to let others speak for me and just made a few comments about the hypocrisy of the media, and I think the very worst of them. We've got the New York Times here saying Julian Assange's indictment aims at the heart of the First Amendment. The Trump administration seeks to use the Espionage Act to redefine what journalists can and cannot publish. Well, they've suddenly discovered this when they'll be next in the firing line if this goes ahead. But I'm just going to kind of go over a couple of videos here. I really recommend that you listen to the video that was made it's just been put up a few hours ago, Unity for J, and it's compared by, amongst others, Joe Laurier from Consortium News, and my hat goes out to the people who have just not been letting this go and have stuck with the knitting over this. So anyway, let's just listen. One of the most people that I admire almost and would trust implicitly is John Kiriakou, who he brought out the torture program, and for his troubles he's the only person, well, he was sent to jail while the actual torturers go free and are still continuing their business. So let's just hear his reaction to this.
Yeah, Joe, I struggled all day today trying to figure out the best way to spin this, the best way I could convince myself that there was good news somewhere in this thing. And having spoken it over with you on my own show earlier today for an hour, there actually may be good news in this. I think that there's a real possibility, for example, that the Justice Department has overstepped. With Julian looking at 175 years, for all practical purposes, that's a death sentence. And I think that the European Court of Human Rights, through precedent, has already said that it will not send accused to the United States to face charges where they face a death sentence. Now, he's not facing execution, and that might be something that has to be argued, but there's a second part to this, and that is that the European Court of Human Rights has denied extradition to the United States to those people who might face solitary confinement. The United Nations, as we all know, has deemed solitary as it's practiced in the United States to be a form of torture. And the Court of Human Rights will not send people to the United States to be tortured. And so I think the Justice Department really overstepped. I think that they wanted to charge Julian with as much as they could so that they wouldn't get caught up in that proviso in the extradition agreement that they can't add charges once he's been extradited. So they threw everything at him. In fact, they shouldn't have thrown everything at him. They probably should have backed off a little, because I think that they've given Julian some real weapons to use in his own defense here.
Okay, that's a mildly hopeful thought. It's certainly going to be a test for the British judiciary. But judging from the actions of the British government and the total illegality. I'm afraid I don't have too many illusions myself. I think that this has probably practically been worked out with the British government in advance, and I don't see that much hope that the British judiciary is going to go against that. But who knows? Let's hope. The other aspect of this is about the media. The media suddenly discovering the First Amendment and the danger of this. So I'm just going to play a second thing here. Oh no, that's not it. I will come to that. Sorry. Okay, so this is, oh wait a minute, God, I've forgotten his name. Great journalist. Anyway, I'll just play this little bit. It's a couple of minutes.
Nothing else. It's a puppet show, and it's designed to distract. But to me, the big interesting thing was the media reaction. I did not honestly expect that. I really...
Lee Stranahan, sorry. Sorry, Lee.
There. Right. We were right all along. I love that line. We got to keep dwelling on that one, because now they're all going to be, push us aside, as if they've been saying this all along, the major media. We're not significant. But we've been here saying that this could happen with the Espionage Act. We were saying he could be arrested, that they would lift asylum, and we were right all along. Please, anybody, feel free to jump in now.
Has been right all along. Remember, he said right from the start, from 2010 on, the Americans are going to indict me. The Americans are going to basically send me away for life. In fact, if not even seek the death sentence. And he was mocked repeatedly throughout the media. No evidence for any of this. No evidence for your claims. This is always paranoia. And therefore, the Americans have, there's no indictment. He's free to leave the Ecuadorian embassy anytime he wants, and it's just because he's basically a bum and a freeloader, and a self-dramatist, that he doesn't leave the Ecuadorian embassy. And this was said repeatedly, particularly, the Guardian, which benefited so much from him. And he's the one who's been proven right. I mean, spectacularly so. I mean, it's just astonishing. He was absolutely right. Yeah, the Americans have been planning this for years and years, and they've been working on this indictment. And I'm not even sure that there won't be a superseding indictment, raising other issues between now and June, whatever it is, when the extradition hearing is set to take place.
Okay, so yeah, that was George Tamuli, who is another. I mean, they're all people who I admire greatly. So that brings us to the media, and first of all, I'm just going to play this unbelievable piece from Rachel Maddow. Yes, mad cow Rachel Maddow, who's all Trump, 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 and of course it's still all Trump, Trump, Trump. And now that it's the Trump regime that's doing this, of course, she can turn around and criticize. And of course, she's along with the whole of the media, she's probably a little bit worried for her own future. So let's just look at this as the last video I'm going to play. Wonderful.
But it is a recurring theme in history. Heck, it is a recurring theme in the Bible that they always pick the least sympathetic figures to try this stuff on first.
Can I believe what I am hearing after all the months of this mad cow going on about Russiagate and her lies? Anyway.
Despite anybody's feelings about this spectacularly unsympathetic character at the center of this now international drama, you are going to see every journalistic institution in this country, every First Amendment supporter in this country, left, right, and center, swallow their feelings about this particular human. and denounce what the Trump administration is trying to do here, because it would fundamentally change the United States of America. It would fundamentally change the balance of power between the people and our government.
I think you've already done that, Rachel, with all your friends and allies.
But as I said, in the first instance, it'll be interesting to see what happens in Britain, because they're going to have first crack at this. My guess is that these radical new charges, this novel new effort by the Justice Department to turn publishing secret material into a violation of the Espionage Act for the first time ever, I think there's a good chance that will be viewed as controversial enough by UK authorities that it may preclude them from ever sending him over here to stand trial. I mean, they have rules of their own that preclude them from sending somebody to, for example, face a political prosecution.
Yeah, well, Rachel, you've been wrong about everything else, so there's always room for you to be wrong about this. So let's just see. This is going back to the New York Times. I haven't got any other editorials, but we all know what they've been saying in the past. I can't bring up the article because, like all of these bloody papers, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Telegraph, they're all behind paywalls, and I'm damned if I'm going to pay money, $2 a week or whatever they think that they're worth for my propaganda. So I'll just have to get things a little bit anyway, so we'll go on to The Guardian. What they're saying today, or someone's saying today, this is Julian Borger, who's been with The Guardian forever, since the days when I used to once upon a time read it. Indicting a journalist, what the new charges against Julian Assange mean for free speech by bringing new charges against the WikiLeaks founder. The Trump administration, see, it's always the Trump administration, has challenged the First Amendment by indicting Julian Assange under the Espionage Act. The Trump administration has crossed a line that every other US administration has shied away from, challenging the First Amendment in defense of government secrets. And then this is what The Guardian has said just a matter of hours ago. I don't know how many hours. Oh, bugger. Yeah, sorry. The Guardian view on Julian Assange, send him to Sweden. The founder of WikiLeaks faces charges of espionage in the US and rape in Sweden. He should stand trial for rape. So let's just see if I can find this article. So I'm going to read this out because it's so bad. This is from the editorial. It's not written by a contributor. They have very sort of different views. So this is the official position of The Guardian. The US government has brought further charges against Julian Assange. Now he is in prison in London. These charges under the Espionage Act cover his dealings with Chelsea Manning in 2010-2011 when Miss Manning was still serving in the US Army. After she had sent him some files for her own reasons, Mr. Assange, according to the indictment, urged Miss Manning to get hold of and pass over further classified documents which WikiLeaks published almost unredacted. The Guardian disapproved of the mass publication of unredacted documents at the time and broke with Mr. Assange over the issue. What a fucking lie! I mean, they were going on for months. They were publishing all of this material quite happily, and of course they broke with Mr. Assange over quite different issues. But whether or not the documents should have been published, their publication should not be punished by the American justice system, which could impose a cumulative sentence of 180 years on the latest charge. So interpreting that, they're all in favour of handing over Julian Assange to the dogs to to be executed or sent to jail for the rest of their life, just so long as they don't touch us, the wonderful, unreproachable fucking guardian. Mr. Assange is an unattractive character who has quarrelled with almost all his former supporters. So that's a reason to send him away for the rest of his life, is it? Few will be enthusiastic about defending him, and yet he must be defended against this extradition request because the indictments against him threaten freedom and democracy in both Britain and the US. Yeah, too bloody right. And they're just getting it now. From a US perspective, the Espionage Act is quite the wrong instrument to use against journalists or even their sources. The Obama administration considered deploying it against Mr. Assange and decided against it on the grounds that it would bring to a point a dangerous and perfectly avoidable conflict between the First Amendment, which guarantees freedom of the press, and the Espionage Act, passed in a fever of xenophobia in 1917. Well, if their beloved Hillary Clinton was voted in, I wonder what she would be doing, yeah? Anyway, Miss Manning is a much more sympathetic character, was held in solitary confinement for years and is now imprisoned and threatened with ruinous fines for refusing to testify before a grand jury. Miss Manning has started a hunger strike in protest against her treatment and says she is prepared to continue it to the death if necessary. So, bloody liberals, the truth doesn't matter. All that matters, Miss Manning is a sympathetic character, so we can talk about her more positively than the Mr. Assange, who we do not like. And then they go through. Anyway, and then there is the rape charge that Mr. Assange faced in Sweden, and which led him to seek refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in the first place. This is serious and deserves a proper trial that will never happen if he is sent to America. Well, what do you think if he's going to be bloody sent to Sweden? Where's he going to bloody end up, you fools? Ultimately, the decision on his future will lie with the Home Secretary, who may well still be Sajid Javid by the time it must be made. Mr. Javid should defend the principle at stake and send Mr. Assange to Sweden at the end of his sentence. So that's typical British hypocrisy. We'll send him off somewhere else and we'll let them send him on to America to face his fate, and we'll keep our hands clean. Well, as you can tell, I'm pretty bloody riled and annoyed by this, but I'll leave it at that. This is Seymour Rocks reporting from Down Under.